You will not be able to write good quality Go code without understanding methods first. Go does not have classes, so methods are the backbone of structuring behavior around your data. Avoid them and watch your code base suffer. You will be passing huge parameter lists everywhere, wasting memory, duplicating logic, and fighting complexity all the time. Go methods aren't optional. They're an essential part, a key part in the design of the Go programming language. Understanding them will allow you to write good quality Go code that will stand the test of time. Hi everyone, I'm AT. In this video, we will talk about something that is key in programming with Go. It's something that I actually use a lot in my projects. And this thing is called the Go methods. So let's start with what is a Go method? Well, a method is a function with a special argument called the receiver argument. But wait, what does that actually mean? Well, with normal functions, you have your func keyword and then your name of the function, and then you open up parentheses and add the arguments of the function that it needs to be executed. Maybe after that, you will define your return types, and then you would open up the code block for this function and you would write your logic for this function. And to make any function a method, you just add a new parameter before the name of the function called the receiver parameter. This receiver parameter is a special parameter that is used to make this function a method, and it attaches this method to the actual type of this parameter that you define in the receiver parameter. The receiver parameter should be 1, and it could be of any type. So let's actually define a type here. This type would be our dog type. It's a type of a dog, and each dog will have a name, right? So we'll write the keyword type, and then we'll write the name of our type, which is the dog, and then we will write what type this dog is. It's a struct type, and then we open up the curly brackets to define this dog type. We will write a name that is a string, and all of this syntax and all of this, basics we explained already in the first video. So if you haven't watched that yet, go watch it first and then continue with this video, because I'm not going to dwell too much about the details of everything we will write. So after we define our type, our dog type, then let's say we want a function that allow our dog to bark. So to do that, we'll write a function, let's call it bark, and then we would open up parentheses. We will pass the dog, so which dog will bark with this function, and let's call it, I don't know, dog of type of dog. And then this function will return nothing, but we will open up the curly brackets, and inside this function body, we will write, or we will simulate the barking of the dog by printing that the name of this dog and barks, right? Or says woof, whatever we want. After that, we will write our func main to execute this function, and we will create a new dog. Let's call it Max, and this dog is of a type dog. And then Max has a name, obviously, so the name of the dog is Max as well. And we will call the function that we just wrote, which is the function bark. We'll give the variable Max. If we run the code, we will actually see that Max is saying woof, which is great. That means we already have created this function and it works perfectly fine. Now, this is a function, right? This is a normal function. How do we actually turn this function into a method? Well, to turn this function into a method is as simple as adding the new special argument, which is the receiver argument. Basically defining a receiver that will receive this function as a method. And our receiver type will be the dog. Now, since we're going to use a receiver, we will actually not need to define an argument that takes the dog, because we will get access to the dog from the receiver argument. So we should remove the argument from the function arguments, and we just have the receiver argument. Now to rewrite our logic, we would use the dog.name from the receiver parameter and not from the function parameter. In the main function, we just simply, instead of saying bark and passing the dog, we just could easily say, hey, max.bark. We access this function, we get access to this function from the type itself, which is what a method is. And boom, congratulations, you wrote your first Go method. Now let's say we want to change the dog name. So we'll write another function or another method in this way. This method, let's say it's called rename. Maybe your dog has a new owner and he wants to rename the dog. So we would have this function to allow us to rename the dog. We would obviously take the new name, but before that we would actually define the receiver argument of this function, which will be the type of dog. So it would be a method of the dog itself. And then we would write the new name as an argument in this function, and then we will, inside the logic of this function, write the renaming process, which we will get like access to the dog name. So we will go ahead and do dog.name equals the new name that we just took from the function parameter. And just like that, we will call the new rename function in our main function. We will let the dog bark, so max.bark, and then we will go ahead and say, hey, max.rename. So we will rename Max to some other name, and let's call it, I don't know, Bill. And after that, we will bark again. not we, but the dog will bark again, so we can see that the name of the dog should change, right? So after we execute the function, or after we execute the program, we actually see that the name of the dog does not change because we actually use something called the value receiver argument. The value receiver argument will give us a copy of the argument of the receiver on the function execution. So each function call or each method call, we will get a copy of the receiver, but we won't get the actual address of the actual variable in the memory. So we won't be able to actually adjust the actual receiver fields. We would only get a copy of them. So we can print the old name and we can change the name, but it wouldn't actually change the actual name of the dog because we actually are operating on a copy of that dog. So to operate on the exact dog, we need the actual exact address of the memory of that variable, of that receiver. And to do that in Go, we use something called pointers. Instead of defining the receiver as just a type, define the receiver as a pointer of type. In our rename function, we change the dog type in the receiver argument to a pointer of dog type. Now we simply run the program again and we can see that the actual dog name changes from Max to Bill. So this is called the pointer receiver. So that's it. That's basically methods. To rewind, methods are just functions. They're written in a special way to allow them to be received on a type. That's why the new way or the new argument called the receiver argument would attach this function to a type and it will be a method of that type. Writing methods is as simple as defining the new special parameter that is called receiver parameter. We have two types of methods. We have the value receiver method and the pointer receiver methods. The value receiver method will allow you to copy the value of the receiver and operate on it, but you will get a copy of that value. You won't get the real value. To get the real value of this parameter of the receiver, you would need to pass in the pointer of that receiver. Passing the pointer is like passing the address of the memory of the exact value in the memory. So that way, when you adjust or operate on that value, would actually operate on the exact value that you called the method from. This is basically methods. And in the next video, we will talk about interfaces. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, consider subscribing, and also I'll see you in the next video.